Hey, so Stead, I get a notification now when you're recording a meeting,
Oh, nice.
so I no longer have to worry about it. Welcome to a slightly delayed version of the worst 120 minutes in all of sports. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is time once again for the Too Many Guys Soccer Show. We took off yesterday because it is Memorial Day, that day that we set aside to remember those who have fallen in service to our great nation. So before I go any further, I want to dedicate this show to Specialist Brian Freeman and Sergeant First Class Christopher Coffin, two of my close colleagues, both of whom fell in service to our country and during Operation Iraqi Freedom. So I'm going to just pause for a moment and remember them. Whoever you pray to, keep those who continue to serve our nation close to your heart and make sure they are protected. They accept a job that nobody really wants, but somebody has to do, right? And so, whether it be Memorial Day or Veterans Day or the other 363 days of the year, take time out to thank a veteran. I'm a veteran myself. Stead, your father was a vet who who served, so you know, military service is very close to our heart. But we are here to talk football. And so, for the better part of the next 120 minutes, we will try and coherently do that. Most of the time, we make it. There are a lot of times we don't. But G's not coming on the show, so I'm pretty safe. I'm
Yeah,
not going to too many hijinks.
that's true.
How was your weekend, my man?
Uh, busy, busy. I was trying to squeeze in as much football as I can, but at this time of the year, I tend to juggle two jobs right now. So I spent most of my Memorial Day weekend working to earn money and then working to find ways to entertain and watch my very young children. So you hate to wish life away, but I am looking forward to the days when they are a little bit more independent and no longer need uh, their parents to find ways to make sure that they don't destroy the house or themselves in the process. And the worst part was we had great plans to spend some time at the pool this weekend, but it was 48 degrees on Sunday, and I don't think anybody was doing much swimming this weekend.
Man, it was shockingly cold
It
here.
was cold. And I'm out there, and I do seasonal pool work, and I'm out there having to put my hands in some water that I did not really want to. And needless to say that in one of the situations where I was fixing a couple of things that needed fixing around the edge of the pool, I managed to lose track of what I was doing and fell in the water. Fully
Ooh,
clothed.
round of applause.
Yes.
Round of applause.
The best thing though was I for some reason something told me to take off the vest that had your phone and your wallet and your keys and set it off to the side. So at least I only had to take one drink and didn't have to worry about having to replace all of my devices and cards and stuff. So it wasn't a total loss, but again, yes, my friend, very much thank you for your service to the United States and to all the other people who have served this country. As you know, I hold the military in a special place in my heart. I was unable to serve myself due to some physical limitations, but also I can say that I grew up on base, and waking up Sunday morning to the rifle range was something that I was grown very comfortable and accustomed to, and had a tough time sleeping when I moved off base when I was 18.
So, what's worse, waking up to the rifle range or waking up to cicadas?
Cicadas.
Yeah.
Because you know why? You know what the rifle range, you know where it is, you know how far away they are. The cicada chirp, it just seems to encompass the entire region. The entire region, they're just chirping at you.
They are deafening right now.
Yeah.
We went out to a barbecue on Sunday. You know, good old fashioned hot dogs, hamburgers,
Mm-hmm.
a really, really, really nice smoked jerk pork loin.
Oh, jerk pork loin is delicious.
And it was cooked for by a good friend of mine, Chef Pat, who owns a restaurant down in Virginia. He was there. He did a dry rub. A buddy threw it in the smoker. Oh man, it was so good.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
But it was
Sounds
good.
awesome.
You know, it was the first real post-COVID cookout.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was a lot of being able to feel comfortable for
Right.
the first time being around a large group of people
Right.
at an event. It's a shame that it was so cold
Yeah.
because we weren't able to spend as much time outside as I probably would have liked to.
Mm-hmm.
But it was nice just to be around a group, you know, and we're all friends. We've been hanging out pre-COVID, throughout COVID, so we know each other, and we feel. But it was nice to just feel as though some semblance of normal had started.
Yeah. You didn't have
Beginning
that
of
little
summer.
bit, you didn't have that thought in the back of your mind. Even with the
Yeah.
people who you're most comfortable with, it's always there. You
Mhm.
know, and not having to deal with that is, you know, that was definitely just a, you know, take a deep breath. I mean, so many people have suffered and struggled, and the struggle continues. And the situation with employment and everything, I can't imagine how stressful it's got to be for so many people. I consider myself lucky to have gotten through this relatively unscathed. So to be able to just get together and have fun. I mean, I know you and I are, you know, we're going to get together with Rob up pretty soon and go watch a game with him. So we'll talk about that later. But just to get that rolling again, you know, it was nice for me, nice to see too. Just people outside walking around. A lot of people. It's not like a lot of people, you know, just gathering and just talking and seeing people
that's
mingle.
one of the fun things because in a couple of weeks, the Euros start, right? And I know you got to work, right? And I'm not begrudging you.
Not all the time.
Well, I mean, we'll talk.
I try to get my work done early. I'm trying to be done by noon, 1 o'clock. So that 3 o'clock game is going to be on.
That's what I was about to say because you know the that Scotland England game is coming.
Oh, it's on.
Oh
yeah. No. I'm making those games. You best believe I'm making those.
Well,
games.
that was how we met in the first place.
Exactly. I can't sacrifice that, man. I can't sacrifice that.
Now,
no way.
And be it watching the games down at the bar or we finally make that big screen, outdoor big screen.
We're watching them at the bar. We're watching them at the bar because the problem with big screen is the games would have to come on at night for it to work. And the big screen doesn't work that well during the day. Yeah. No, it's just, you know, the games are on, the games will be over, the sun's still out, I can't see anything. So, you know,
we'll make it work.
We'll make it work at some point though. Yeah.
Brother, I'm hurting. You said that, you know, you tried to watch as much football as you could. I watched as little as I could.
Yeah.
I'm hurt. Wednesday took a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have not been up on the news. I have not been up on the chat. I'm not going to lie. I did not watch the Champions League while it happened.
Yeah.
I couldn't. Losses hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked all the time at how much progressively these take out of me.
Yeah. Well, especially a cup final. I mean,
cup finals, some of them, European Cup finals, take a lot out of me. And the funny thing is, you know, since I've been a Manchester United fan, I've lost more than I've won.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's easy to remember the salad days of you know, 2008 when we beat Chelsea, and even a couple of years ago when we beat Ajax, right? But amongst that is two really bad losses to Barcelona. And, you know, those ones hurt. But I guess they're so far away, like I forgot how much they hurt. This is like catharsis for me. I'm gonna rejoice with Chelsea Mike. Chelsea helped me out. I don't have to listen to Man City fan gloat about them winning their faux treble and us not. So Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you.
Yes.
I will
Absolutely.
thank Chelsea, Mike. Why do you think I'm hanging a Chelsea jersey behind me? I bet y'all never thought y'all would see that day that I had a Chelsea jersey hanging. But yes, thank you, Chelsea. But man, did that take a lot out of me.
Yeah.
I just
the way it went down, was just, I mean, it was very difficult. I could see from a Man United perspective. I will say this though, the one great decision you all made this year so far is the fact that you re-signed Edinson Cavani. He may be your best striker,
and that's the problem.
He might, and coming off the bench, he might be your best striker.
But that's the problem.
That's the problem. That's a problem.
He is our best striker right now, and he's 34.
Mm-hmm.
He can't keep doing this.
Mm-hmm.
The other guy's got to be able to do this. And
I think he's already looking at the end of the tunnel, man. He's like, I'm kind of done.
He's been looking at the end of the tunnel, and the fact that this is the second time that we've had a striker who's closer to the end of his career than the beginning of it lead us to this specific game. Right? You know, it was Zlatan, 5 years ago, and Cavani this year, and in a team that has Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial, both of whom were on the same team as Ibrahimovic, you will hope that they start to figure some stuff out.
Yeah, they would be able to step into the role. Yeah, absolutely.
Haven't been able to do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we can't keep hoping that this Uber striker from PSG decides to leave in free agency and sign on a free and hang out for a year or two.
Right.
And put the goals in. You know, at some point, something's got to change.
Right. Absolutely.
That hurt. But
I will say this though, it is wrong to kill David De Gea on this. It's wrong. I don't agree with, because
I can't kill him on that. I think he did everything. I think they shouldn't. You know, it's hard to kill a goalkeeper when it comes down to him stopping penalty shots which is a 70-30 if.
Right.
And let's be honest, that was a penalty shot where all the outfield players hit.
Right. It
came down to goalkeepers.
Right.
You know, I would like to think that a goalkeeper of his quality could have guessed right at least once.
Well,
you've seen the stuff coming out where he eschewed the research to go with his gut.
Yes.
But,
okay, that's what I was going to bring up. Yeah. You
know, when you get to that level, I was just having a conversation with a young man about this today. He's in sports marketing, right? Just graduated from University of South Carolina. And we were talking about like the nature of elite athletes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you get to a certain point where your athleticism, your innate ability is what has gotten you thus far, right? What are you going to trust more when it comes down to crunch time?
Mm-hmm.
Videos, statistics, or your innate athletic ability?
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm David De Gea, right, I have gotten to this point in my career by being who I am, by trusting my instincts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this minute you start second guessing is the minute that you start losing. Right. So even though you can look at the research and say there were 2 clear penalties that he could have saved, what that also means to me is there are probably 7 or 8 that he would have missed.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to kill him that much.
Yeah.
I would say to United, y'all should have gotten it done in regular or extra time.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
It should not have come down to penalties, because once it gets to penalties, we know that the best team doesn't necessarily win.
Right. And David De Gea's record on penalty shots has not been good. It's not been good for a very long time. But again,
he's a goalkeeper that you depend on to win a game.
A game, yes.
In 90 minutes.
Right.
Not to stop penalties for you, right?
Right. And
they should have won that game.
Only 1 goal. They only scored 1 goal.
when they
You know?
and they had all the opportunity and the initiative, I would have needed the strikers to put the ball into the net
Hmm.
in the 90 minutes.
Hmm.
I would have liked to have seen Solskjaer again, look at your team and say, what can I do right now? What do I have as ammo on my bench in the 120 that I can bring in
Hmm.
and say, you know, I still think Donny van der Beek will come good at Man United.
Hmm.
I think that he has been asked to adjust to a new role, a new style, with different players where he's asked to do completely different things than he's ever done at Ajax.
Hmm.
And it's going to take him a while to adjust. And I've seen that at United before, right? If you're a player that comes in, some players come in and there's a position that they're asked to play, and they're asked to play a defined role like he is, to sort of kind of negotiate his way into a midfield with Bruno Fernandes, who has a very defined role,
Hmm.
and Paul Pogba, who fills multiple different ones.
Hmm.
And it's easy for Van der Beek to say, I'm not a natural defensive midfielder. I'm not, I'm not Bruno Fernandes. In like, where do I go? What do I do with my hands?
Hmm.
And he may take time, and I still back him to come good.
Hmm.
I would have liked to have thought that at some point in time he could have made a difference. You know, Daniel James. It just, I'm surprised that Ole said, "This is my starting 11. You guys are going to play 121 of 120 minutes."
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. I mean,
But and especially a guy who is known for being a goal scoring substitute.
right,
Yeah,
right.
but
Him
we
and
said
Dirk
it.
Kuyt like popularized that role in the Premier League.
We said it last week. You can't count out Villarreal because Unai Emery is going to figure out a way to win this game. Unai
Hmm.
Emery, everything went the way that he needed it to do, and he won the game that he needed to win. That he knows how to win.
Hmm. When he's not coaching Arsenal. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say, I'm just going to stick this in there. I am so sick of Arsenal fans pointing out the fact that we should not have fired him and blah, 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 blah. Hey, he coached the exact same game for Arsenal. He did. And they laid an egg. So
And
good
they
for
got
you.
and they were in the tactical deficiencies in that game
Yes.
were
So
evident.
evident. Absolutely. So if Arsenal was a team that was based out of Spain, it might have been a different story. Clearly, there's a difference for Unai Emery when he's coaching in Spain versus when he's coaching outside of Spain. So, can Arsenal fans, can we stop? Stop. Just stop. He coached the same game. We lost. He's not here anymore. Let it go.
But
Done.
he's not here because y'all lost that game. He's here. He's not here because y'all lost the first. What? You lost 13 of the first 20 the next
Oh
year.
yeah, it was, and it didn't get any better. It didn't get any better.
It got
So
worse.
yeah, it got worse. So don't point out the one game that he's able to win for other clubs that he didn't win for us, like the fact that he didn't coach that game for us, and and the fact that he beat Arteta and everything like that. That's just I just don't like.
Guardiola,
Can we stop? Can we
Guardiola
just stop?
won a Champions League uh, for Barcelona, and he hasn't done it for any other
Has
club
done a
since.
sense. Yeah.
Should they fire him?
No. I mean, it's
You don't
just
fire him
stupid.
because he
It's
doesn't win
just
that game. You fire him
yes,
because he doesn't win the games that get you there.
exactly. Exactly.
And
You fire him because he loses the games against Brighton and Hove. That's why you fire him.
Ole. I will say though, Ole's officially on the clock.
You think so? Yeah.
I think he is. I think he
Yeah.
is because if there's anything that we know about the Glazers, They'll fire a coach who built a team who doesn't win a championship.
Mhm.
I still have not forgiven them for Tony Dungy.
Yeah, I know.
And remember,
I haven't either. They let John Gruden win his Super Bowl.
Win his Super Bowl, right?
Everybody says that too. Everyone's like, "Well, that's Dungy's Super Bowl." Nobody gives Gruden credit for that Super Bowl.
I mean, and it's hard too because part of it was all Tony Dungy's players. The other half of it was if you talk to people who know that team. Remember that Super Bowl was against the Raiders. Bill Callahan changed nothing about that offense that year. And I understand, like, it's hard. Like, if you look at an NFL playbook, it's a binder like that big, right? Like that
massive,
big.
yeah.
And the verbiage is complex. And Bill Callahan's not he's like an offensive line guy.
Line, kind of running game kind of guy. Yeah.
He's not a passing
blocking
game guy.
schemes, yeah.
And so that he didn't change a complex offense because that's not what he does, but he didn't change any of the verbiage. So Gruden went in there and told the defense exactly what the play calls were going to be. And there's a great clip of John Lynch after a turnover coming off and saying to Gruden, "Boss, is exactly what you said it was going to be."
Yeah.
Part of the reason why they blew him out was because they
knew what they were going to do.
Playbook.
Yeah, the playbook.
They had the verbiage. They had everything. They knew exactly what plays were going to be called, when they were going to call them, and what to listen for. So you had that combination of just a different voice. And you look at John Gruden, you know, I don't think he's an awful coach, but I will say he's basically 500 after that season. But that still remains the fact, like, they'll fire somebody if there's an opportunity if Ole doesn't bring home something. You know, the bar's been set now. You made it to a final.
Yeah. You finished second in Premier League too.
You finished second in the Premier League. You made it to a final. If he comes home with Stugatz next year, how do you justify that?
Yeah.
How do you justify that? What do you?
Yeah, I mean,
and we'll see what
they do in transfers, because, you know, when the Glazers spend money, they expect a return on their investment. I mean, I get that, so we got to make sure that actually happens.
And we're going to see, and we're going to talk a lot tonight about the manager carousel.
Yeah,
you know, Carlo Ancelotti, who we haven't mentioned, Zinedine Zidane,
and what's going on up in Celtic now, because they're getting the effects of this with what's going on in Everton. What's going to happen in West Ham? You know, I should text Andy real quick and see if he wants to pop in and talk about possibly losing Moyes.
That's a big one, though.
Yeah.
And you wonder, kind of, if Moyes has the stones to leave West Ham.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
It's one of those, like, can you go home again? Because it's not like he say what you want about Ancelotti going back to Real Madrid, but, you know.
But Ancelotti's never had that sort of loyalty to any club.
Right. He wasn't anywhere for 8 years. Like Moyes was at Everton. So it's one of those things, like, can you go home again? Is it gonna?
Well, I mean, he can go home again.
He can, but is it a good? Yeah,
we've seen that before.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Why would you leave West Ham right now to take over Everton?
Exactly, you're going
West Ham. You're coaching in Europe.
Yeah,
Everton, you're not.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And so, you know, is Cam, your timing couldn't be more perfect. Actually, my timing of bringing you in couldn't be more perfect. But
we're talking about the managerial merry-go-round, which apparently
Celtics now stuck in there with Eddie Howe.
Yeah, what's going on there? What happened was
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, apparently, Eddie Howe was not willing to sign on till the summer, which, Celtics had was fine. But it seems now everything has finally collapsed with the inability for Celtic for being able to bring on some of the Bournemouth staff, first team coach, and then I think the assistant manager, because Weatherstone and Purchase, they just that seems to be where the issue lies, and it sounds like, from what I've heard, seen some of the journalists saying, is it's to do with budget. So it looks kind of like it just finally came down to money at the end of the day, and it all collapsed at the final kind of 100 yards. So the fan base is not happy.
Just when I thought I was out, you pull me back in.
I've been seeing, for weeks now, we're on the verge. And then I saw a report 2 weeks ago. It was like, next week it's being confirmed that he's going to be announced. And bloody hell, next week it was, yeah, Eddie Howe's not coming in. It's like, this is getting sick now. This is becoming torture at this point. But
Like, is there a point in time where you feel as a Celtic fan, like somehow this year you've gotten trapped in Dante's fifth circle of hell?
man, I'm waiting for this to turn out to be a comedy of some sort that they've done. Like, there's a TV channel's bought the rights to do this just to
Yep.
screw with the fans, and it's an extra check for Celtic, because this is just getting absurd now. We don't even the guy we were supposed to get as director of football, who actually has recommended our next candidate, has now suddenly said, you know what? No, I'm not interested. I'm going to stay at Man City, actually. So again, another fall there.
So this is not the type of club right now that should be going through this. Right? If
Yep.
this was, if this was, pick a team at the bottom end of the Premier League instead. Like, if you had told me this was
Palace or something. Yeah.
Palace or Villa or West Brom or Fulham or something, I might believe it. I understand there's not as much revenue in Scottish football as there is in the Premier League. That's clear, but
You're guaranteed European football, coaching Celtic
yeah,
Arena. You're guaranteed.
and you're not. It's not a poor club. It's not a club without any sort of history.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a club that has proven itself to be completely and utterly and totally dysfunctional.
Right. It's crazy. I mean, Brendan Rodgers, I mean, it was quite clear that he wasn't going to be at the club forever. But, with the success he had at Celtic, look where he is now. And honestly, for someone like Eddie Howe coming back into the game after being out for, however long he's been out now, this would have been, I think, a perfect opportunity, especially, in terms of rebuilding a club that clearly needs rebuilding. That is where he as a coach really, really excels.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's part of the really big shock here with the fan base, is that this would have been a perfect opportunity for him. Come in right off the bat, get some European football. It starts in July,
Mm-hmm.
Really get back up to speed on coaching. And then, the fan base is not expecting him to stay for 3, 4, 5 years. I'll be honest, no one
Mhm.
expected that, but it would have been a perfect EPL jumping off point. And I
Mhm.
think it's just, I have no idea how he was able to actually push Celtic as far as they were in terms of waiting till the summer. I want these specific people. If I don't get them, it's over. This is how much I want to be paid. It was kind of crazy, but
When you hear those demands, but then you also look at the fact that there's another big Premier League job open,
Right.
which he will no doubt be a candidate for.
Yes.
Do you kind of get the feeling like he was that chick stringing somebody along, waiting for the better prom date?
Yes. I got that feeling immediately. In fact, I actually was I didn't put 2 and 2 together with Ancelotti going to Real Madrid. I didn't think that, but I remember when Ancelotti was hired at Everton, and I was skeptical of the hire because I was like, why would he go to a club that quote unquote small? It didn't seem to fit. And Mike, you brought up a really good point about how, Everton is still a big job as far as exposure is concerned. It's a team that does have a fan base outside of England. So he will be seen. And then we saw the players he was bringing in, and we're like, okay, so everything's doing something this year. And then you had the hot start to the season. So it made sense. But you also alluded to the fact that, he's not done yet. And I took the job as maybe he's just kind of like wants something to do in a way. But to see how he was successful and then how quickly he's now taken back to Real Madrid, I was surprised when I heard it, but then it was one of those things where you hear something surprising and then you stop and you think about it for a second and you go, you know what, that actually makes a lot of sense. That's the feeling I got from this. And then my first thought was, you know what, Eddie Howe probably wants that job.
Yeah.
And it makes sense and he's also admitted relatively recently that that was his sort of boyhood club that he supported. It makes sense. Now, I think Eddie Howe, if he can say that that's not his intentions, but I think it's very difficult. I'm going to ask for the moon at Celtic. I'm going to ask for the moon because I know there's going to
give
be
it to me.
something.
I'll ask for the stars.
Fine, yeah, but there's going to be a Premier League job opening. That's going to be a next level up from Bournemouth. There's going to be another a Wolves job or something. I think he would have taken Wolves. I think he definitely would have taken Wolves.
But instead, who that leaves open right now, and I doubt he'll take the Celtic job because he probably goes back to Uncle Nuno needs a job.
Uncle Nuno needs a job. Uncle Nuno is interviewing for Crystal Palace right now.
Man, if Nuno even considered Celtic, I would jump at that. I would have jumped at that yesterday. I would have jumped at that before Howe. I would have honestly. If
I was Nuno, I would go to Celtic before I go to Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace they're always one season away from relegation. Every year, Crystal Palace is a threat to get relegated. Every single year. They've had a nice run. I would totally go to Celtic before I go to Crystal Palace. Absolutely.
I think you have more of a shot to launch off, i.e. Brendan Rodgers from Celtic.
Agreed.
But Cam, you'll back me up on this. The one thing, there's a difference though. There's a lot of pressure at Celtic.
Oh yeah, yeah, and especially with the past decade we've just had, whoever's coming in is going to be held to a similar level of success. Treble, like things like that. So I mean, that's
how much forgiveness is the fan base going to have for the new manager? Right.
Well, is the fan base taking into account the fact that Rangers had shot both their feet off for the last 10 years and really couldn't compete because they screwed themselves up financially so bad? Now that they're back, it's going to be harder now. It's with the Rangers with the return of the Ranger.
Yeah, and I think the fan base does recognize at that exact point that we've had it quite easy for a while, to be honest. The past few years it's been a little more difficult, but this year Rangers are back in full force. Honestly, where they used to be when the rivalry was really, up in the air, right on fire. And that's come back now. And exactly. It was his best. And we weren't ready for that. I don't know if it's the backroom staff kind of maybe got a little, I don't want to say lazy, but
comfortable.
Exactly. That's a pleasant way. Yeah. Comfortable. They got comfortable. They weren't expecting a season like this. And by the time they got their heads wrapped around it, it was too late. And I think there is going to be that pressure for whoever comes in. Like, we got to get rebuilding yesterday, and we got to at least be able to make an effort in the league this season.
But and how forgiving would somebody be? Like, could you get? And it comes down. I think instead, here's where I'm going with this. My personal opinion is, if you could get a manager in who has a name, the leash might be a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the manager that you might need to take the job wouldn't necessarily have the name.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, would they get a long enough leash to be able to do the job? Could you afford to take a Rangers-esque gamble on somebody like Stevie Gerrard right now and bring him in? Somebody with limited managerial credentials.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows, you might catch lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Every manager started off someplace.
Right.
But a job like Celtic is where Arteta should have gone first.
Yes, and I
So-
still think that I think Arteta would have been great at Celtic,
Yeah,
and he could have
Mhm.
I
cut his
agree.
teeth,
Mhm.
and it might have been a little bit different. But given Celtic's resources and the nature of the Scottish Premier League, he might have even been able to play the style that he wants to with the players that he's got up there,
Mhm. Mhm.
or
Mhm.
some adapted form of that.
Right.
But you know, could you right now take a risk on an Arteta, on somebody without a pedigree?
Yeah, someone who's sort of assisting a big club and is, you see him sitting on the bench right next to the head honcho, and it's like, okay, he's the one that's
Yeah.
whispering in his ear all the time. Is there a coach like that who
All
you
right,
take a
let's take
flyer on?
Michael
Yeah.
Carrick, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Carrick's been sitting next to
Yeah.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Jose
Mm-hmm.
for the better part of 3-4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Could Celtic take a flyer on somebody like Michael Carrick and say, all right, we know that you've been learning with these two guys, you've got your badges, we're going to give you your shot, right?
I think right now there's a feeling that taking a risk like that, I'll admit, from what I've seen from a lot of the fan base, there's not a whole lot of people open to that idea. The fan base is really,
Interesting.
they're looking for someone, that does have a pedigree. Now, I will say, when I say a pedigree, that doesn't necessarily mean Europe. The guy, I don't know if you've seen who's now the next candidate and looks very promising to be the next coach. I'm gonna butcher his name. It's Postecoglou
Yeah.
from I think he's coaching Japan right now, and he obviously has never played in Europe. A lot of people don't recognize his name, but when you actually look at his record, he won the 2015 Asian Cup. He's won the league a few times in Australia, teams that he's brought up from the bottom. So he does know how to rebuild a team, and he does know the taste of success. Now, again, he's not a household name like you're saying, so this is kind of where I think the club is looking to walk that line between someone who's not going to break the budget, but at the same time can show the fans that, he's got playing experience. He plays a really good, fast game of football. I've seen some of the clips of when he's been managing really good, fast football, which I think would excite the fans. So, that's a gamble, but.
Hey, Stud, you know what we're going to start right now?
Hmm.
We're going to start the rumor. Aliou Cisse for Celtic.
Cisse, I would love that.
That's not
I
bad.
would love that.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. You got a guy in his mid-40s who has positive international experience.
Yep.
Got screwed out of probably a place that he should have had, handled it very admirably. Respect from players, respect from colleagues. He'll come in
It plays an up-tempo game
Yes.
based on
Yes.
what he has.
Yes.
Does a lot with what he's got.
Exactly.
Now, you know why
that's not bad.
I like that.
And you know why he's not going to get it? He's black and he coaches an African team.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it, but
I'll say it. He's black and he coaches an African team. But I'll tell you what.
But the talent that he coaches is for real. He's coaching some straight ballers. He's not coaching Mali. He's coaching Senegal.
After you said who they were looking at, I was like, oh my gosh, if I'm Celtic and if that's the direction that I'm heading in, one of the first calls I'm making right now is to Aliou Cisse.
That man would run that dressing room. That would.
Yeah.
How can you not? How could you not respect him?
Oh man.
Plus, you're gonna feel terrible as a player because everybody knows that the most handsome person on the whole squad is the manager.
Oh man.
I don't care who you are. Like, he would be the coolest man on any touchline in all of Scotland, hands down.
Like you put this dream into my head now, and now I'm just imagining it. I'm imagining the old firm with him.
He's got a good record for Senegal too, man. He's got a really good record.
The guy because I know that you're now going to let that float around the Celtic fan boards,
I'm
And I
gonna drop
want to
that
see
out
what the
there. Yeah.
feedback is, because I think, and it's one of those things I didn't put
I
together.
really, he's only 45 too. I like that.
Oh, he's young, he's up and coming. I mean, if you are content with somebody who is going to handle the job with class, be respectful of the club that they're at, who may or be looking for another job, but has also demonstrated that he's fiercely
Yeah.
loyal to Senegal
Mm-hmm.
and would be fiercely loyal to any club that hired him.
Hired him. Yep.
I think he would be a good pick. And, win, lose, or draw, the boys are going to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Win, lose, or draw, the boys are going to play, and he's never going to be one who's going.
And he's
His dressing room would have to love him.
And he
They
played.
would,
He
yeah.
played 4 years in England too, so
Yeah.
he knows the island. I like it.
Now I'm gonna have to buy some shares on the
like it.
board and submit that name.
All I'm saying
Just
is
a few
this.
shares.
No, we just need to start the
I
rumor
will
here and let it
I will
spread.
become a Celtic fan if that happens. I would be like, whoa.
We just need to start the rumor here. We're just going to start it here amongst us.
go.
We'll start putting it out on social media. I heard that Celtic was interested in hiring Aliou Cisse.
Anyone
listening, spread it everywhere. Tell your
Yes,
parents, your aunts,
yes.
your uncles, your kids.
Yes.
Remember,
everyone.
it says in the Bible, speak it into existence so
That's
that it
right.
might become true.
That's
I
right.
love it. Oh, I'm excited for this thing that may not even ever happen now.
No,
It probably won't.
It
But
probably
it was fun to
won't,
talk
but I'm
about.
really excited about it now. Yeah.
man,
That
that's
would
not
be amazing.
bad.
Yeah.
Because I mean, say what you want. The one thing that is known, he knows how to manage a squad.
Yeah.
And he knows how to manage a squad of stars. He knows
Yeah.
how to do that too. And he knows how to manage a squad that expects to win.
Right.
And he knows how to deal with what talent that he has and adapt whatever he's going to do to fit it. We've talked about the fact that the transition in between international managers to club isn't always the easiest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he's also proven that he's going to be a guy who can take what you give him,
Mm-hmm.
look around, and say, all right, this is what I got to do.
Right.
And he's earned the opportunity to fail. Like he's
earned
earned the
the
chance.
That's what I'm going to say.
Yes.
Like, I know that he hasn't won a trophy yet, but he's earned the opportunity to get a look,
Mm-hmm.
and probably should have gone further.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Rob, can we get you back next week? We got to switch gears really and bring up Scotland.
Yeah.
And hey, Kim,
We got to get together and watch this game, man.
I'm really down. Honestly, anywhere I'll be there.
Yeah, no,
Anywhere.
we are going to watch. We're going to find a place to watch the Scotland-England game. I've got a line on one. It's a 3:00 game. We will all be out. It shall be fun.
I'm gonna take the day off.
I also,
Done.
yeah, take that day off. I forgot what day it is. We'll definitely be out. We'll have you back next week to talk about Scotland and do a Euro preview of Scotland and what we can expect. And I just officially ordered my Scotland jersey yesterday.
Nice.
I don't think it'll
yeah.
be here for that game.
Yeah.
So I'll have to wear a Celtic jersey for that game.
Okay.
But I ordered Scotland jersey.
Dude.
It will come sometime, because who knows where it's coming. They said it would get here sometime in between June 15th and January 27th of 2022. But
Okay.
it should get here.
It should get here
Guys,
before the final, which Celtic is going to be in.
The game is on
Scotland.
the game is on a Friday. It's on a Friday. It's on.
Let it be so. And it
right.
is so. We shall watch this. So Cam, we'll get you back next week, and then we'll make some plans to go out and watch Celtic or not Celtic.
England, Scotland.
England,
Yeah,
Scotland.
maybe. That's
All
gonna
right,
be
man.
fun.
Good, gents. Thank you.
Good to see you
All right,
as
Cam.
always,
Good
my
to see
friend.
you.
Later, guys.
Wouldn't that be fun, man? Though,
Be fun.
Aliou Cisse at Celtic.
That would be that would raise a lot of eyebrows, and I think the people who are going to balk at it are going to be quietly going, but this is kind of interesting. This is kind of interesting.
It's one of those things. So if you sit down, watch how he handles his team,
Mm-hmm.
watch how he handles the press.
I was gonna say, the way he handles the media, he's so smooth and savvy and doesn't get rattled.
Again, I cannot give another individual more credit
Mm-hmm.
for how he handled Senegal's exit from the World Cup on
Yep.
fair play points.
Yep.
You know, just sitting there and saying, you know, we understand the system. It is what it is.
Mhm.
You know, it it stinks to go out like this,
Mhm.
but that's what happens, and we graciously accept it, and we'll be back.
Yep. Yep. And everybody applauded. I mean, everyone. You had no choice. You had to applaud and respect them.
How could you not?
Ugh,
I mean, that
man.
sort of grace in that sort of situation, because it's not guaranteed that he could ever be back in that situation.
No, it is a murderer's row getting out of Africa. It is. It's difficult. It's difficult. At least it
And
will
then
be until they go up to
he led them
48 teams.
to, you know, then he led them to the finals
Yep.
the next year.
Yes, when they were playing, when it was Man City versus Liverpool in the African Cup of Nations final.
Tunisia versus. I was on my honeymoon, and we were on the cruise, and there was an Algerian guy there,
Yeah.
and he said before it, I was like, you know, I love you, brother, but I hope you lose this one. And he said, he looked at me and he said, you know what, we're happy to get here.
Yeah.
I don't think that we're going to win.
Yeah.
And well, I would say he was buying drinks for everybody, but he had the drink package, and we all did. So he was ordering.
So he was just like ordering for everyone.
He was ordering for everybody, less buying for everybody. But he was in a very, very happy mood that night. And he was. I don't know how we did this. They discernibly had the better team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you want to put a knock on Aliou Cisse, it is that, you know, in this upcoming, which we've now knocked back from 2021 to 2022.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to need to make a run.
Yeah.
And win something.
Well, he's got to get out of the group stage in the next World Cup. I mean, if they qualify, he's got to get out.
I don't even think he needs to do that. I think he needs to, if he makes a significant run in the African Cup of Nations.
Yeah.
And wins Senegal a trophy, they'll forgive him for not getting
him for that. It's true.
You know why? Because the group stages of the World Cup are so stacked against African nations.
They are. They really are.
You know, when you look at them, they're going to be in like pot 4.
Right. And they always end up in the group of death every single time.
Well,
because their teams are so damn good that when you put them there, it's going to change the balance of power anyway.
That's what I was going to say. You know, they're going to end up in pot 4, and they're going to make it by a group of death by their presence in it.
Right. Right.
You know, you could have a team with like USA and Switzerland, or USA and Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
And once you throw Senegal in there, oh, look at that. That's the group of death.
Yeah.
Right. Their presence in that group will make it a group of death just because they are so good.
Because you're gonna get a top tier European team. You're gonna get one of them. You're gonna get Italy. You're gonna get Portugal.
Right,
you're gonna get England. It's gonna happen.
Portugal.
Right. You throw Nigeria in there.
South American team.
Right. And then you throw Nigeria in there. There you go. That's a group of death. It's a group of death. Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you threw Japan in there, it would be like, okay, you're gonna expect these two teams to go through.
Yeah.
I mean, no knock on Japan, but you know, that's just how it is. It's how it works. And Japan's played well recently, you know, in the last few World Cups. But yeah, it's just how it is.
So we're gonna switch gears almost completely and go from talking Celtic and Scotland.
Well, hold up. We gotta let Rob in on what is the rumor that we're starting. You gotta let Rob in.
Oh, Rob.
Yeah.
So we're starting this new rumor. You know, Celtic's looking for a new coach, and you know how we get with that managerial merry-go-round. So we're starting a new rumor that Celtic is interested in hiring Aliou Cisse.
All right, I'll do you have a hashtag so I can like trend it?
Hashtag Cisse to Celtic.
Yeah.
Cisse to Celtic. Beautiful.
I mean, tell me that one wouldn't work though.
I mean, look, it might.
It might work. That's what we're all saying. It might work. It might.
You never know, like
shot.
I mean, Scotland's in a different place now. Now the Rangers are actually somewhat decent, and they're winning the leagues again. But before, the Celtic job was a job where you can sort of have a little bit of comfort, knowing that you can win the league and sort of grow into a role, or resurrect your career. a la Brendan Rodgers.
Mhm,
So yeah, it's a decent job to have.
mhm,
I
mhm.
think Cisse would be great at it. The players are going to respect him, and they're going to play a good brand of football, and they'll be competitive, and that's all you need up there. That's all you can ask for.
Exactly.
So, switching gears, apparently there's this tournament that I'm supposed to pay attention to that starts on Thursday, and a bunch of players from the U.S. are going to play in it. Some of whom I know, some of whom I don't. Why should I care about the CONCACAF Nations League, Rob?
I mean, I think you should care for a couple reasons. Number one, you're going to see finally some of these Euro kids from the US playing together again, in front of fans as well, which is encouraging, and you're going to see, all this hype about all the European kids winning trophies, like Pulisic winning trophies, even Zach Steffen winning trophies, Isibichu, Jordi Reyna, all those, whether they can put it together on the field together. And it's sort of like, I know the Nations League is a Nations League. It's like made up tournament to make games relevant. But if you look at it as a friendly, but what actually matters, it's sort of like a just preview to see how they're going to do when it comes to World Cup qualifying, especially playing Honduras. I know they're going to play in the U.S. here in Denver, but it is a preview, it's a test, and all games are good. All reps are good, and I'm looking forward to it. And they should be Honduras. I'll tell you right now, they better be Honduras, because if they don't, start to sound the alarm.
Well, the other thing about it is how many competitive games, or how many games of any sort, have Honduras played since COVID started?
Probably zero.
Yeah, so there's that fact too, and they should beat Honduras, and they have to. What should I pay more attention to this summer? Because World Cup qualifying it starts in September. After that, it is a complete and utter slog. 3 games in September, 3 games in October, 3 games in November, 3 games in January. Yeah. Should I care? What should I take from the Gold Cup versus the CONCACAF Nations League? What roster should I be looking at? Is Beerhalter going into these tournaments saying my World Cup qualifying roster? Because at the end of the day, I could care less if they win the Nations League. I could care less if they win the Gold Cup, which they haven't done in a couple of years, or since they beat Jamaica. I care about qualifying for Qatar, and I want to see the best team possible. And I already know I'm not going to see the best team possible in the Gold Cup because Gio Reyna already pulled out.
The team pulled him out. The team was like, "You ain't going."
but that's the thing. Like,
yeah.
I'm already.
You got to wonder.
Cup is it's weird, and how
Well, could you see more teams doing that with their Euro-based players too? Saying like, "Look, the Gold Cup is not a big tournament. I don't care what you say. It's not the African Cup of Nations. You ain't going."
Well, all right. So so technically it's a FIFA window. So the clubs have no say, but Brian McBride, the general manager of the US men's side, it has to make these deals all the time, trying to say, hey, look, I'm not going to bring them to the Gold Cup, but I don't want to hear any nonsense about or whining when I want to bring them in for 3 straight qualifying windows that had 3 games in them. So these are the deals that have to be made, and that's okay. I think as long as a bunch of the players are there, I'd be shocked if Pulisic is there, honestly, because they're Pulisic. They're going to start the Premier League early, probably a little bit early, because they have there's 20 teams in the Premier League, so among other players too. If anybody's on a move potentially. The transfer coming up or a loan coming up, they might be pulled out because you don't want to risk injury, and that's dealing with the players' money. So I guess, if anything, it's going to be, you shouldn't really care about the Gold Cup other than to see if anybody kind of like um, surprises you from the MLS side,
Like
because
maybe
the
a new
MLS
boy,
players will be there.
maybe a new boy
Excuse me?
shines that you didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. And any other player that you from Europe that you maybe, don't see a lot, like Jordan Sibatu, for example, who's playing over for Young Boys over in Switzerland. Like, he's going to get a run out there because we really don't know much about him. So, and it's a Swiss league, so they're like, oh, fine, go here. It probably help him out, potentially sell him in the future to make some money. So
What was the reasoning though behind? Beerhalter said it was form, but I would like to understand though the reasoning behind picking Sibatu for this round of tournaments versus DK.
you know, honestly, I was surprised too, because Daryl Dike lit it up for a while. I know he's kind of been iffy there toward the end of the season. They played a lot of games as well. Um, so I'm shocked, honestly. I'm really, really shocked that he's not that he's Daryl Dike is not on his roster. I mean, I think he's earned it. But maybe Berhalter sees something differently. I mean, Sibitu can play. I mean, but then again, it's a Swiss league, right? I mean, so I mean, I don't know how much stock do you put in that. But then, then again, Daryl Dike, he was doing well in the championship for a bit, but he didn't start like both those matches. He came out as a sub, I believe, in one of them or both of them. So I don't know. I would love to see him out there though.
I look at him. I'm wondering though if this is a like you said, McBride's got to cut these deals. This is the point in time, and this is a nice 2-week window when DK's not in camp, that he can report to Orlando City and train up with that team ahead of playing some MLS matches, ahead of maybe another big transfer. If I'm looking at it, Sibatu had a good season, but he's also 25, 26. And I look at him and I wonder, on a young squad, is he all of a sudden somebody who's never really featured before, never really been on the radar? Is he the guy at 25, 26 playing in the Swiss league that all of a sudden you're like, wow, this could be the answer?
Yeah.
He doesn't strike me as that. He's a tall guy. He's a little bit on the skinnier side. I can't say I've seen much of him play. He had a pretty decent scoring record for young boys, but he's kind of been a journeyman outside of there. He's actually from this area, which is funny. I didn't know he's from DC guy. Yeah. I'd never heard of him before, and I questioned how many people had, and all of a sudden he's getting a call up, but it just happens to coincide when MLS is taking a 2-week break that Daryl DK and notification came out today that DK was reporting back to Orlando City. All of a sudden I start to smell something that smells a lot like fish. I'm wondering because maybe I would expect if he's still MLS based to see him being DK in the Gold Cup tournament, and maybe see Batu go back to Europe to try and nail down a place, because it seems like the Gold Cup roster is going to be more emphasized on MLS players.
Yep, I agree, and I think if you're gonna out of the top 3 strikers, like which is between Josh Sargent and Sibatu and Daryl DK, I think Josh Sargent is probably the one that stays home for the Gold Cup. I think Sibatu and probably DK make it. If I had to guess right now, obviously it's a long way away from the Gold Cup, but that would be my guess, because you want Josh Sargent back back at Bremen. They had to start their season. They have to like kind of regroup themselves after getting getting relegated. And you know what you have with him, for the most part. He's had camp, so the Gold Cup should be a place where you see kind of players that you're not too familiar with and see how they blend with the other players.
Should we be even remotely concerned about the fact, and we being the U.S. fans, should we be even remotely concerned that we're going to play competitive games again, heading into the busiest set of competitive fixtures that we've ever played in qualifying, and we still don't know who our best 11 is.
Yeah, I mean, I would. So it's weird, right? Because the U.S. are kind of in this transitional phase, and then last year should have been the time to kind of figure it out. And obviously, with the pandemic hit, they wasn't able to do that. So the U.S. is sort of caught in a weird spot where they had to kind of figure it out now. And I think the goal is going to be put the best players out there, like who are doing the best over in Europe and also in MLS, and see what happens. Especially for the first qualifier window, you're going to see if who's going to step up, who's going to really make their mark. And I think after the first qualifier window, you'll start to see a solidify 11. But you're right, we really don't know. We and even with the Gold Cup, the full roster of players won't be there, so you really won't know either. So
This
yeah,
is what
it's a mystery.
This is kind of what pisses me off.
Mm-hmm.
Here we have the perfect opportunity in this upcoming week, right? I understand, yes, Pulisic, because it's Champions League, not there, but everybody else could have potentially been available. And still backroom deals and stuff interfere with what we're going to do. If you believe that Subotic is the player, I haven't seen it. It just confuses me because you're talking about, well, I'm bringing him in based on form over Daryl DK, but Josh Sargent hasn't been in form all season.
Yes. Josh Sargent's only scored 11 goals in his Bundesliga career. I mean, I know he's young. He's only 20, and he didn't turn 20 that long ago. I feel like he does have time to develop, but he's been in the Bundesliga for 3 years now. He's got 11 goals. 11 goals.
It just baffles me that you're going to say, like, he hasn't been in form in years, but you're going to tell me, well, I have to have him in here. But Daryl DK's been in something that resembled decent form. Yes, he tailed off the last 7 games, but the last 7 games he wasn't. Well, Josh Sargent hasn't put together 7 good games in 3 years.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree, and I think what Greg Berhalter is gonna his defense of Josh Sargent is gonna be like, look, the way he plays, where he doesn't, he's not a poacher, but he's more of a hold-up player. He's gonna let the wingers and the attacking midfielders kind of run through the channels, and he's gonna lay it off for them. That's the player he kind of wants, I believe, and Greg Berhalter is going to tell you that Josh Sargent really has not had a ton of like talent around him to really give him the ball. Like, he's going to make the moves and everything, but has Bremen had the players to really get Josh Sargent the ball in the box? And he's going to say no. I mean, that's up for debate, but they've been terrible for a couple of years now.
Bad.
And they've been this bad. I mean, it's so bad now they're relegated. I feel bad for Bremen, and Berhalter is telling us that, like, look, I think Josh Sargent, with the wingers that the U.S. has in Pulisic and Reyna and Tim Weah, even Brendan Aronson, that if he gets those balls in the box, and he's going to put them away, he's going to get service, and we'll see. Especially the next couple matches, and we'll see on Thursday how they're going to do against Honduras.
Yeah, because I mean, ostensibly, it's only 2 games in that tournament. Well, it's only 2 games in that tournament, regardless, right? Yeah. You win, you're in the finals. You lose, you're in the consolation game.
Yep. Exactly.
So there's not much leeway, right? So before we let you go, Rob, make a prediction for us. What do you see happening on in this one over the weekend?
I think the U.S. wins 3-1. And if they don't win 3-1, they barely win. You start to get worried, and just hope for no injuries. They need a good win here to get confidence up. So because it looks like they're going to probably play Mexico, and it's okay to lose in Mexico, but you cannot be embarrassed by Mexico. You have to be competitive with them. It has to be a tight game. It has to be a good game. So they need a good win here against Honduras.
All right, so we'll get you back on next week when we start our Euro and Copa America previews, my man.
Hey, real quick, because I know, Chelsea Mike's coming on,
So you passing Champions League medal on to him?
yeah. So Mike, whenever you're on, you get to have it. It's beautiful. And I'm glad, you have fans in the stands to watch it. So here you go, Chelsea Mike. Enjoy, man.
Passing of the Champions League medal. We'll catch up with you next week, my man.
All right, have a good one, guy.
Good to see you, Rob.
Take care. The frustration of being a US fan.
It's mind-boggling. It really is. It really is. And it's the fact that decisions aren't made on who your squad is. That's the frustrating part. And I don't know. I feel like the management is like, they don't want to put all of their stock in a specific lineup in case it goes wrong and maybe for the backlash. But I'm also going, you can't keep changing the recipe and expect to be able to make a decent meal. You gotta put something together. You gotta put something together.
This was exactly what got us in trouble last time.
Exactly. And center forward striker is a huge problem for the United States. And it has been for decades. It's been for decades. I don't know why the United States struggle. Actually, I have my opinions on why. Why do they struggle so hard to find a center forward / striker who knows how to finish? It just doesn't happen. No, we're not alone, but the US doesn't have the talent outside of that. I just think that one player
Germany doesn't have. That's true. Like Germany doesn't have a guy. Lucas Podolski and Mario Gomez could put him away.
Yes.
Podolski was the king of, I'm a better player for Germany than I am for.
Oh, I know all too well.
Anybody.
That's true. But who is it? Mario Gomez.
Mario Gomez had a good run.
He had a good run. Like, we don't even, like, I'm not saying it's got to be a Mario Gomez, but like, where's your guy that says, no, I'm a center forward and that's what I play. That's what I do. Give me that guy.
Famously played Spain when Spain was on their run. They didn't have one.
But they had David Villa.
They had David Villa, but David Villa was a winger.
David Villa could play center forward and score goals.
David Villa played as a false nine at best.
But he still scored goals.
So your issue is not the center forward spot. It's whether or not we have a freaking goal scorer.
Well, but I'm also feeling like the way, if you want this winger, you need someone in the middle to get the ball to put it in. Because the U.S. isn't playing tiki-taka. The U.S. isn't making these passes because we get stuck with playing boom ball, and they don't want to have players that actually have the creativity where you don't need a center forward. We don't have that. So
I just need to play the lineup with the players that we intend to play at this point and start to narrow it down I can understand it if it is across these two tournaments. I'm essentially going to use about, let's call it 35 to 40 players who are going to form the core of the pool for qualifiers, of which I'm going to consistently call up 20. But this group of players that plays this summer in these two tournaments, however many players he uses between Euro-based and MLS-based, this is the core. This is the pool for qualifying and the World Cup. As long as I know that, okay, so this is the pool. These are the, 35, 40 players that we're going to choose from. I don't like it when I get surprises. So the kid, what's it, Subotic, who he called up from Switzerland, the DC kid that we're. I don't want any more of those, like, where I'm looking at it, I'm like, who in the world?
Who's this guy? Yeah. Who is this guy? Exactly. I mean, I would be supportive of him saying, look, DK is going to be our center for, and just go with it. Just go with it. You know, that's wow. Can you believe Josie Altidore is only 31?
Actually, I can believe that Josie
I can't
Altidore
believe-
30.
I thought he was like 39.
Because I also
I'm kidding.
remember Josie Altidore
kidding.
started playing when he was 17.
Yeah,
for New York
exactly.
for
Yeah.
New York.
And
Red
he
Bulls.
was 20 in that World Cup number of years ago. But
You know, here's a guy who still has never in his career scored a goal in a World Cup.
He's played in what, 4 or 3, you know?
No, he's been on the team. I actually think he's only played in like 1 or 2 games.
Well,
due
it's
to
true.
injury.
Yeah, his hammies never liked him very much.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's I try not to get frustrated with the US because I'm like, because like you, it's like, why do I really care much about these games? And let's see what happens when we get to World Cup qualification. I'm very pleased with the number of players that are successful in Europe, not just on a team that's fighting relegation every year, but that are on teams that are successful. And I'm also mean like fighting relegation for whatever league they play in. I mean, we'd often have guys playing in the 2nd division of, you know, Belgium or something like that. So that is pleasing. It's can the coach put together a strong starting 11 and stick with them and be comfortable with it? I mean, you and I could both put together a starting 11 that we think would be relatively successful, but it's just more second guessing of US soccer, which is what, you know, we kind of do.
You and I could put together a starting 11 that we think would be successful, but if I put together a starting 11 that it was going to be successful, it would end up being like Ole ball, right? I'm counting on you guys to be brilliant in your individual positions rather than play
as a squad. Absolutely.
You know, and Beerhalter has displayed a willingness to play people outside of a position that I think, because, you know, he sees something that they do as fitting into what he wants to do. Yunus Musa is the classic example. Musa plays wing for Valencia, but they have him playing as a deeper lying midfield in the US camp, but playing off of Weston McKennie because they feel like he could complement them in a certain way. You know, Christian Pulisic, who plays typically out on the wing, playing more as a number 10, almost in the Bruno Fernandes role. You know, Serginho Dest, whatever wing he tries to play on, you know, Beerhalter has a vision of how he wants this team to play and how he wants the parts to fit together, that where I could select them, they may not be as effective.
May not fit. Yeah.
I don't
you're not getting Voltron, you know.
But then he also, you know, you talk to Gio Reyna and he says, I'm asked to do a lot of stuff for the US national team that I'm not asked to do for Borussia Dortmund. You know, some of the follow-on runs that Beerhalter wants him to make, he's like, I don't have to do that. Erling Haaland does all of that for me.
Yeah, that's true.
So we want to be competitive.
That's all. I just want him to be competitive. That's all. Just go out there and be a team that your opponents respect. And, you know, I know we got a bunch of young kids on this team, and I'm glad we got a bunch of young kids. I'm glad because we're looking at 2026. But, you know, I was gonna keep Chelsea Mike in the waiting room for like 15 minutes just to.
I wrote like 45 minutes worth of content tonight. Come on.
I really was starting to wonder, Stead, because I told him about 5 minutes ago. Like, I'm starting to wonder, like, did he get the message? Is he on? Like,
I was sitting there, I was like, I'm gonna make him sweat a little bit, you know.
It's all right. We're still over here partying.
London is blue. I get it. London is blue.
London is blue. You know what's not, though?
What's that?
because apparently he's wearing like that pale white jersey tonight.
I am. I wore this on Saturday as a hex. It is, of course, a Chelsea jersey. It was, of course, a present of you.
Yes.
But you know, it's light blue, so I'm hexing the sky blue in favor of my royal blues. I also, it's interesting, I don't own a Chelsea blue jersey because the ones they keep putting out are so terrible that I just don't want them. And you know, and like this next year's upcoming one, which is already cursed because we lost the FA Cup in it, like it feels like I'm gonna get. Like,
I thought you had
I'm gonna
one
have a
with your
seizure.
name on it.
What?
I thought you used to have one with your name on it.
I did. I don't know where that is. That was a classic. That was the 05. That was their second.
It was the reverse of the one that you're wearing right now.
Yeah.
You had one that had your name on it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gone. Also, I've grown a little since then, so it probably would be pretty tight by now.
Oh.
That was a small.
Excuses.
Yeah. Well, you know.
I got one that I'll sell you though.
Oh, the one behind you? What
It's
is
autographed by Frank Lampard.
Yeah. No, I was there when that happened.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're not actually going to talk about Chelsea in the Champions League. We only want to talk about lower league football. We got to talk about the Champions League. Congratulations, my man.
Dude, it feels great. I've got to say, it's good to win the big one, and I know you know that.
Yes, Rob. Byron Rob once said that he's going to pass on the Champions League winners medal to you when he sees you again. But he wanted us to pass on his congratulations. How in the world did Tuchel manage to do the impossible and beat Pep not once,
again,
not twice, but 3 times, and including the one? Does when you the other thing I'm going to say, even before I let Mike go on this one, anybody else feel like, based on how Man City was playing and how wide their wingers were versus how they normally play, starting to feel like Tuchel might have taken up residence in Pep Guardiola's head a little bit? Like, Mike, how'd they do it?
Well, I mean, first of all, you know, it was all about the defense. Really, you know, I think there's a lot that's already been made about Pep and like what was Pep doing, what was that lineup, he overthought it. But I think actually, if you think about it, Chelsea's strength is their defense. You know, so we're going to put out an offense to beat it. And also, he was not wrong in thinking that Chelsea couldn't finish. I get where he was. I get where his mind was at. I get the choices that he made. However, at the end of the day, you still got to have players out there playing football. And they really, really, really needed a defensive midfielder. They really did. How did Chelsea do it? Thomas Tuchel, I don't know if he saw the lineup and made this adjustment or they had been planning for it. And honestly, I didn't really, what I should have done is gone back and watched the highlights of the last 2 times we beat Man City. But if you watch the tape, they got a lot of their offensive opportunities, most of which were in the first half, out of going over the Man City defense, either over or through in a long ball. And a lot of that, I know, like, you can criticize his performance, but a lot of that involved Timo Werner. Timo Werner was getting the ball. He was using his pace to get the ball in situations where he could be a threat. Of course, the best he did on all of that was the time he didn't touch the ball and Kai Havertz did, because Kai Havertz put the ball in the net. Timo Werner hit the side net. He got the ball in his feet. He pretty much ruined two really amazing opportunities that Mason Mount set up for him. One by just like missing it. He looked like a U10 player out there when the ball comes to the feet. But I don't think that you can say enough about what Chelsea's defense did. Chelsea lost Thiago Silva. He was the bedrock of that defense throughout the entirety of the season. But Andreas Christensen came in and he made an absolutely crucial block on Phil Foden in the dying minutes of the game. Ben Chilwell, who was up there in offense, getting involved, he set up the Mount ball to Havertz, but he also got back on defense. He trapped back and stopped Mahrez in the 10th minute. And that was set up by Raheem Sterling. I actually think Raheem Sterling is an interesting choice, and maybe we can talk about him a little bit later on, because I think he got
how much does Antonio Rudiger figure into this for breaking Kevin De Bruyne's face?
Well, we could talk about that too, because my personal opinion with that is that it was a pretty good professional foul. He got beat, and De Bruyne shifted on him to get around him.
He didn't get a red card for it. It was a professional foul.
He got a yellow card.
He got a yellow card for a professional foul. I don't think it was potentially violent conduct. I don't think he meant to hurt De Bruyne.
I don't either.
I think it was just an unlucky coming together. You watched the replay, it didn't look like to me that he was doing anything other than trying to knock him off the ball, off his run,
which is very typical of a central defender to do when they partially get beat.
That's a professional foul. We see it. We've seen those types of yellow cards all the time. If it had been potentially violent conduct, which they reviewed for, it would have been a red. I don't think he went. I think it was an unfortunate coming together.
Yeah, I think, if you watch the replay, when they hit, they both kind of like stand up. And I think the way De Bruyne had really, really fooled Rudiger. And as Rudiger moved to try to stop him, because, I play defense, the rule is the ball gets by you or the man. Obviously, De Bruyne didn't have the ball, but he was going to get it. The ball or the man, never both. And he knew, Rudiger's the last man there. So he's going to take a yellow card if he can to stop him getting in. I actually think De Bruyne's just genius ability to get around people worked against him. They came together in an awkward way, and he kind of got it in the face. I didn't think the intent was to injure there. It certainly worked out better, though.
Well, De Bruyne also had a tough time because he had a 5'5" midfielder in his pocket the entire time he was on the field. I'm surprised it's taken us this long, but I'll bring him up. N'Golo Kante was absolutely unbelievable that game. The play of the game for me was when De Bruyne had broken through. He was coming in, he'd beaten Kante. Kante ran him down, and he slid tackled him from behind. And from the bird's eye view of the camera, it looked completely like a slide tackle from behind. You took his leg out, you're going to get a yellow card. And then to see Kante get up with the ball and run away, and you see De Bruyne laying in sort of in like the downward dog position with his knees down. And I thought he was hurt. And no, he wasn't hurt. He was just like, I can't deal with this dude. And then they showed the replay, which was, I've never seen that before in my life. I've never seen someone slide tackle another player from behind and only touch the ball.
Yeah.
He didn't touch a shoelace.
He took it clean.
Couldn't believe it. At that point, I just went, okay, he's clearly playing on another level right now. It's everyone else is playing here. He's playing here. And he owned that game like I hadn't seen him do since some of the Leicester games. Haven't seen him do it since then. Maybe a couple of the World Cup games when France won. But you look at him now, he now has a Champions League, a Europa League, a World Cup, and 2 league titles. If he wins a Euro, you can't name a player who's had a better 5 or 6 year stretch. I mean, it's unbelievable what he's been able to accomplish without being a player who's like in one of those striker positions. I can't sing his praises enough. I was really blown away by his game.
He's got 3 titles, doesn't he?
Yeah, well,
He's got the Leicester one too.
he's got one with has Chelsea won 2 with him.
One with Chelsea.
Yeah,
I just wasn't sure how many he had won with Chelsea.
yeah, no, but I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, yeah, if he could win the Euro, I was thinking about that the other day too, just how decorated he is, and how integral he was to all of those teams.
Every single one.
I mean,
He is on his day, and you and I've said it. On his day, he is as good, if not better, at his position than as anyone else on the pitch is at theirs. Right? I put him. He's as good at being a central midfielder, if not better, than say a Virgil van Dijk is at being a defender. Am I saying like he's a better player? I don't know if you can really compare the two, but I think he is as good, if not better, at his at doing his job as anybody else is at doing theirs. You know, he's been a little bit injury prone more recently, which means, you know,
considering the way he plays, it's almost understandable. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
he's a good one where he was.
He did.
He's all out there. He won a header in the offensive.
In the offensive, yes, and nearly yes, and put it wide, almost scored.
And that's what it is. It's like when you have the opportunity to have somebody like him, and he'll never win Player of the Year.
He'll never win Ballon d'Or or anything like that. No, he'll never win that.
No, because his offensive stats will never be good enough.
And that's because, you know, but if France is to win the Euros this year,
it will be because of him.
It will be in large part because of something that he does.
And it will be basically how he's going to be able to keep the other team from doing what they like to do,
while allowing his team to do what they want to.
Yes,
but it's the defensive part, like you said, it's the slide tackles. But beyond the slide tackles, it's the number of times that he makes the slide tackle and then wins the ball and carries it forward.
Yes, he doesn't just knock it out of their possession. He wins the tackle and he stands up and the ball's at his feet, and then he leads the break. And then he's sprinting all the way down the field. And I would not want to have to sprint against a guy who's that low to the ground, who can cut and turn and make moves that way. Yeah, he's probably not going to score, but I don't want him there. I just don't want him there. It truly looked like Chelsea had 12 or 13 people on the field. It did. You did not see a play. Anytime there was a lull in play or anything, you didn't see a play where he wasn't in the middle of the field. And the funny part was, in the second half, whenever City got a couple of good chances where they were starting to threat, it's almost like he went, okay, you've had your 5 minutes, I'm shutting it down. And he would shut it down every time. And it was, I mean, I would be the most frustrated player alive if I had played on City that game. Because you just like, this dude won't go away. It's impressive.
It was a full team performance.
It was.
Yeah, if you go through the back line, like including, you know, Conte wasn't back line, but of course, yeah, he did. He had but every single one of those defenders had a game-saving block in some way. As Piliqueta
put it over. He played great. He had a great game.
Yeah.
I thought he had a great game. I think he's underrated, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's finally. I think, you know, it's weird that he's
maybe getting his just due.
Yeah, he's finally, but you know what? He's finally reached his maximum level, like right when it's about to dip off, like his maximum performance level. I mean, I remember talking to Mike, I think 2016 or so, about his Piliqueta, and it's just like, yeah, he's just not very good. That was Mike's exact quote, by the way. Yeah, he's just not very good. And I think he's been put in a lot of different roles when you have so many managers, but I think now he has reached his peak,
Mhm.
and at the perfect time, because physically he's about to.
I thought he's played well. He plays really well against Arsenal. Maybe that's why I think he's I think he's better than he always seems to play well against Arsenal.
I mean, but he played well the other day. Rudiger, outside of the outside of the tackle on De Bruyne, which was unfortunate. I mean, he also had like a game-saving block
Mhm.
against I mean, they all
Counted it.
Chilwell had a game-saving block. The entire back five all had moments of brilliance. And that's what it's going to take when you're a team that's built to win 1-0, as Chelsea are and have done. I mean, they should have probably won. They should have definitely won 2-0.
Yeah.
Pulisic needed to score that
He
one.
needed to score that goal. He did.
Yeah. And, I've been watching that replay a couple of times to think, I don't understand. He tried to like scoop it around into the far corner when, to me, the near corner was open, and he could have just slotted it that way. I don't know. Maybe he had the yips, maybe he got the jitters.
I think he did. And he knew that game was being broadcast on celestial television in the United States, and he knows all eyes were on him. And the way the broadcast was, going down on him, the whole telecast was kind of like, I think it's kind of unfair for Pulisic. I thought, when I came on though, I thought he played fine. I mean, I didn't think he looked poor. I think he, missing the shot, but I don't think he's making solid runs. I can't say anybody else in attack looked significantly better than his time. I mean, I hate to go back to Timo Werner, but I actually felt kind of bad for him. I really did, because I saw exactly what you saw. I saw a guy putting a lot of pressure, getting behind the defenders, and really making things difficult for them. He just couldn't do the final fourth of what his job would have been, which is to actually get a decent shot on goal. I'm not even saying he had to score. Flubbing that and hitting the side, that.
Yeah.
For a guy that's been coming under fire a lot, I thought outside of those two plays, he actually played well. I thought he was using his pace effectively. He was keeping pressure on the defense to try to keep the counter from happening. And I mean, he deserved the right to celebrate the way he did, because there's lots of, I don't know why I bother paying attention to some of these idiots online, but there are lots of people who say, oh, you shouldn't be out there screaming, you messed up, blah, blah, blah. No, he was very important to helping that team win the game. I think so.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's, your team wins. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
I don't, if in baseball you give up 10 runs and your team scores 11, you still won the World Series.
Won the game. That's right. And as a pitcher, you'll still get the win too, even if it destroys your ERA. That's right. Yeah.
But that's, he was getting in behind. He was stretching the defense. I mean, he's just, I don't know what it's going to take for him to get the finishing back that he had in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just more training. If the speed is just, that little notch up to where now your feet are different. And I don't, anyone who's played the game knows that, like, when you go from your U10 where everybody's, just out there because mom told them to travel league.
Yep.
Like, now the game's a little faster and like, whoa, this is different.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if he's got a case of that, and that's what it's going to take, if it's just going to take more time. By the way, if you're a player or a manager on Chelsea, time is not your ally.
No.
There is not a lot of patience, and there are a lot of mouths to feed. And one of those mouths is Kai Havertz, I thought had a brilliant game, apart from scoring the goal, which, that was a great run. Of course, if there was a central defensive midfielder, he might not have been there. He just sort of burned Zinchenko.
Yeah, he burned him bad.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Zinchenko had no chance.
Yep.
But he did, he got around Ederson. and he put the ball in the net. It was it's a wide open goal. It's the Champions League final. There's lesser men than him
Have missed.
have failed in that task.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
he got it there. But he was also crucial in setting up that Pulisic chance. Like he took on two guys.
Yep.
And got the opportunity for Pulisic. I mean, I think obviously they paid more money for Kai Havertz. I think he's probably the better player in the long term. He's younger. He's just looked better than Werner when he's gotten the opportunity.
Yes.
And he hasn't got as much opportunity as Werner.
Yes, he has, but as far as the smell test is concerned, he's definitely looks, he does. He looks better. He does.
Right. But yeah, so should we talk about Pep? Like, what was that? Like, is Thomas Tuchel like the Lex Luthor to Pep's Superman?
Well, it's funny when you think about, as great as Pep is, the managers in the Premier League that have seemed to get the better of him in his tenure. It is easy to say right now, at least on the strength of the evidence that we have, that Tuchel is able to game plan for Pep. He does it effectively. Touch wood, OGS has a winning record against Pep. If you have the players to counter what City is going to do, you can beat them. But having the players to be able to do that is not something that everybody has.
Right.
You have to have a certain set of players. And even if you have the players to counter specifically what Pep's going to do, it doesn't mean that you can win the league, because they may not be able to be as effective against everybody else. What Tuchel has been able to do is beat Pep.
Yep.
He hasn't had as much success beating everybody else. OGS has been able over the last year and a half to beat Pep. He hasn't had as much success against everybody else. And so, I think Pep will go down in history as a great manager. But again, this raises question marks about how we evaluate him.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll agree with you on that. I mean, I think the fact that, Fernandinho didn't play until later, that Rodri never saw the field. I mean, if you're a Man City fan, you've got to have questions. And quite honestly, I don't know, it's great players making great plays are gonna beat a coach every single time. And Chelsea's defense was just phenomenal. And of course, De Bruyne had to leave early as well. So, I mean, that couldn't really be game planned for. But to me, I don't know. The chances they started off the chances, and really it was Sterling going over the top on a ball from Ederson, which was just fun. It was just a great ball. Reece James tracks back and makes the play, but Sterling had a bad touch, and you got to wonder, like, does a better touch score the goal there?
And that's exactly what, I'm pretty sure if you ask Pep, why did you lose this game? We had the opportunities. We had the game plan. We didn't take ours. They took theirs. If you ask Pep, I would say 99 times out of 100, if he would change anything, he would say no. We did what we came to do. There were certain things that we couldn't plan for that happened. We didn't take our chances. De Bruyne got hurt. If everything had been executed the way that we had expected it to, if we had taken the chances the way that they took theirs, we'd have won this game. And I remember it was about American football. And I was complaining to Greg Cosell, the legendary NFL Films analyst, announcer. I remember mentioning to him once, like, I just always wondered why Andy Reid never made second half adjustments. He says he doesn't believe he needs to. He believes that if they execute the game plan that he has laid it out the way that they're supposed to do it, they will win. He doesn't see a need to make changes. Plan A is good enough. It's not that we need a plan B. We just need to execute plan A better.
Yeah.
And Pep has said as much before, when he was at Bayern, we don't have a plan B. We don't need a plan B. We have plan A. And if we execute plan A, then we win. What you make of that is wholeheartedly up to you, right? We can sit here and debate the virtues of what he believes, and sometimes you need to have a plan B, sometimes you need to do this, but the fact of the matter is, ain't one of us combined that has anything that resembles an part of Pep Guardiola's CV. And if we did, we wouldn't be sitting on a low-rated podcast. So before we go, though, Mike, we've got about 10 minutes left. We need to change gears. Give us a full update on what happened this weekend in the other games that were being played in the lower leagues.
All right, I will. Just I have one final comment on that. This is a little salt in the wound for you, man, you guys out there. But if Thomas Tuchel didn't come over to Paris, Pep would have won the quad. I'm just gonna leave that out there.
And why do you think I'm hanging a Chelsea jersey right now?
Hey, also though, don't forget, not sure you know, I believe it's been 20 seasons at least since a team that's playing in the final of the Champions League for the first time has actually won it. So it's almost like every team that plays in the Champions League final, you almost have to get your one in and take your L before you actually win one. Because don't forget, Chelsea's first final, you lost to Manchester United. So, it's
But
true.
the other stat that I would say
with him here, you have to do that with him here.
Sorry, I'm just saying.
But the other thing that I would say with though is it's not usual that you get a team playing in the first final, right? I can think of in the last 20 years, 4.
I believe it's more than that, but it's not. I'm not saying that it's 20,
but I can think there are 4 that come off the top of my head. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 more that I'm not thinking of from the early aughts. But the ones that come to mind right away, I'm not sure if that was even Arsenal's first.
Yes, it was.
Arsenal, Chelsea, PSG, and City.
And Spurs.
And Spurs.
Yeah. And there's a couple more. I can't remember who they are, but there are a couple more.
And, but that just, my point is, it's a great stat.
Yeah. That's why I didn't bring it to the very, very end, because I
Yeah,
figured
but
I'd throw it in there
it's a great
before.
stat. And it's
before-
fun and it sounds
I'm not
great.
saying it means anything. I
But
just thought it was
does-
funny.
because
I wasn't bringing this up to have it be analyzed.
because it's also it's not that usual. It's very unusual because the way soccer's set up, you tend to get the same teams playing in that game over and over and over and over and over again.
Mhm.
Right? It's very hard, especially now, to break into that elite,
Mhm.
to get there.
Mhm.
Right? You know, even if you don't go the last 20 years, let's just go the last 15, right? Since that's when it's really gotten solidified. You can think of why PSG, City, and Chelsea got there after years and years of trying. And Spurs was a little fluky. Most
Little
might
fluky.
disagree, but I mean, of all the teams that have been there recently, Spurs seems to be the flukiest.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, even Atleti had gotten there before. It had
Mhm.
just been generations since they'd shown up.
Mhm.
So it's just it's a great stat, but yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. That is the only time that I've ever hung another Premier League team's jersey behind me is this occasion. So yes, that is my way of paying an homage to Chelsea and thanking them for preventing Pep from winning the quad. And you go into a season where you have aspirations to win the quad, you come around away with the league and the Man City the cup.
Yeah. The Man City Cup can't count towards any sort of quad or anything right now.
Yeah, but-
They can't wait to get rid of that too. They're
Oh, Pep hates
EPL
it.
guys are like,
Hey-
yeah, you guys could do some European something else.
Yeah.
We'll just get rid of the League Cup
Pep can't stand it
to the
either.
horror of City.
He's so done with that thing too. Pep's the one that wants him to cancel it.
Yeah, because then maybe he can win the FA Cup.
Yeah.
All right, so give us the before we head out, give us an update on promotion and all that sort of stuff in the lower leagues.
All right, so the last spots were sealed in the Premier League, and in the lower leagues, with the exception of the last spot in League Two. That'll be played later this month. The runner-up in the National League, which is below the top four, goes on later this month. But we'll start with the Championship. You got Brentford returning to the top flight for the first time since 1947. They had a pretty dominant win over Swansea. Swansea was beaten early. Golden Glove winner Freddie Woodman got exposed by his D. Swansea's D was their bread and butter this year, and I had predicted them to win. But he ended up committing a PK on Brian Mbueno, who was actually on the team last year when they lost in the championship playoff final. Their front line last year was called the BMW line. He was obviously Mbueno, but B was Said Ben Rama, and W was Ollie Watkins. So, I mean, could you imagine that team in the Premier League?
Mhm.
And it could have been if they'd won last year, but they didn't. So anyway, Ivan Toney buried the PK. And then Swansea was caught out early a number of times, but they got beaten again in the 20th minute. And actually the best play in the game didn't end up being a goal. But Toney again got the ball, and he did this like half volley thing where the ball was up by his chest. And he still somehow managed to put it in. It hit the underside of the bar and then the goal line and bounced out. It was best play in the game. Ivan Toney, watch out for him coming up with Brentford this year. We'll see how far they go. Swansea, Jay Fulton got sent off in the 65th minute. That pretty much sealed their fate. playing with 10 for the rest of the time. They won't be up. They won't be returning to the Premier League. It will be Brentford again, first time since 1947. So that was the championship. League One. The final on Sunday had Blackpool beat Lincoln City 2-1. It was actually 1-0 Lincoln in the first minute. Blackpool gave up a hideous own goal. Like, you want to talk about the difference between Premier League defending and League One defending. The ball that Azpilicueta put over the goal in the Champions League final was from about 3 yards. Well, Blackpool just put it straight in their own net. It looked terrible. But Lincoln unfortunately did not secure their third promotion in 6 years. And it would have been their first spell in the second tier of English football since the 60s. Blackpool regathered and had two pretty good goals from Kenny Dougal at the top of the box in the 34th and the 54th. And that put Blackpool ahead for good. Lincoln kind of whimpered out at the end. And that's it. Blackpool promoted. And then League Two, which is, honest to God, were some of the funnest games you'll ever watch.
They are. They really are fun.
You had Morecambe beating Newport County. That was the second one I got wrong, out of the three that I picked last week. But it was a very, very cagey affair. It went the full 90 without a goal. And it was really tense throughout. However, Newport definitely had more chances than Morecambe. And they put one over the bar from inside the 6 in the first period of extra time. However, in the second, there's a controversial PK awarded to Morecambe. The guy might have been outside the box. It might not have even been a foul. It might have been a dive, but there's no VAR in League Two, so we'll never know. And the Shrimps, Carlos Mendez Gomez, that's Morecambe. They're the Shrimps. And Carlos Mendez Gomez buried the PK. In the last minute, 42-year-old Kevin Ellison had a shot of equalizing, but he couldn't get there. Morecambe are promoted to the third tier for the first time in their existence. They remain one of only 2 teams. We're going to play trivia right now. One of only 2 teams in the English League, the top 4 tiers, to have never been relegated ever at any point in their existence. Morecambe started in 1920. Can you name the other team that's never been relegated in the top 4 tiers of English football?
I don't believe Everton ever has.
No, Everton has. This is going back throughout eternity. I'll just give it to you. It's Wimbledon, and it's because Wimbledon only got restarted in the early 2000s. So Morecambe going up to the third tier for the first time, they'll have a lot to do if they want to keep their perfect record of never.
So they've never been relegated out of League Two.
Well, no. They were never
division.
relegated in any of the lower leagues. They've come up from like the 7th tier over the course since 1920.
Right.
So they were never relegated below that.
So they go up and they stay.
Yeah.
And then
They go
just
up
stay
and
up
they
there,
stay.
and then they'll go, we're going
So
to stay in League 5 for about the next 20 years. We'll be good.
Morecambe is on a 200-year quest to make it to the Premier League, and they're steady in the course. Steady in the course.
All right.
So just to sum up for everybody, the ups and downs. Going down from the Premier League, you had Fulham, West Brom, and Sheffield United. Up from the Championship are Norwich, who, by the way, if they keep them together, I will not relegate them next year. But they're talking about selling Buendia already.
Yeah.
So,
And Max Aarons.
yeah. So if they keep them, we'll see. Anyway, there's also Watford and Brentford going up to the Premier League. Out of the Championship and down to League One, you have Wickham, Rotherham, and Sheffield Wednesday.
Who looks
It's been
like
an
they might be
unfortunate
falling
ride
into
for the
some
Wednesday.
administration. Sheffield's
Yeah.
going through it right now, man. I really
Yeah.
hope that team's able to get
Well,
something
they already got a
together,
points
'cause-
deduction, and they might.
yeah.
You know, if they go into administration, they're likely to end up in League Two
hmm
before they have to be brought back.
Which is a shame for a proud old team, former FA Cup winners.
Mhm.
You know, that's got to be hard on the blue side of Sheffield.
Yeah.
And it's hard on the red side of Sheffield too. Unfortunately, there won't be Sheffield derbies in the championship this year.
hmm
So up from League One, you have two former Premier League sides in Hull and Blackpool. They're joined by Peterborough United. Peterborough United is the striker factory. They produced Ivan Toney. They have the top scorer this year. They're pretty good. So keep an eye on them. Out of League One, you lose 4 teams. They're Rochdale, Northampton, Swindon Town, the Bristol Rovers. Replacing them in League One are Cheltenham, Cambridge, former Premier League side Bolton Wanderers, and the final team to go up, the Shrimps of Morecambe.
You know, it's nice to see Bolton get promoted after all of that they went through earlier
Yep.
in the season, with almost being dissolved.
hmm
Yeah, delisted. Yeah.
For them to get promotion, full credit to them. All right, my man, thank you very much. We got to hit the bricks on this one. It was nice to enjoy a Tuesday evening with friends talking a little
Mhm.
bit.
Absolutely.
Big shouts out to Celtic Cam, Byron Rob, and Chelsea Mike for joining us. Congratulations go out to Chelsea Mike on his Champions League victory. Two
You'll
victors.
get a trophy next year. Don't worry.
Yes, two victors go to spoils. Big shouts out to producer Stead for managing this band for now. We'll be back next week with our Euro Cup Copa America preview. And then after that, we're going to go a little bit more often than we normally do as we try and keep up with what is going to be a ridiculous summer of football. So we did all right this week. Try and do better next week. For the cast of the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, I'm Mike, and happy football.